let's talk about colostrum. This video is for you, especially if you always wondered what colostrum is. And as always, you find all the sources that I used for this video in the description. My name is Doc Mark, your grumpy German professor. And as we say in Germany, jetzt geht's los. So this video is structured in 6 sections. And in the first section, we are talking about what colostrum actually is. And then in the second section, we're looking at specifically bovine colostrum, because that is the colostrum that we consume as a nutraceutical, and how is it originally used in the cattle industry. And then we're going into how bovine colostrum is sourced and processed for human consumption. And then from there, we're looking into the scientifically proven health benefits of bovine colostrum, which there are some, right? And then we're also looking into the things that might be a little bit overstated on social media and the things that we do not know about bovine colostrum. And then at the end of all of that, we will, of course, always ask the question, what does that actually mean for you? All right, so with no further ado, it's a lot of ground to cover. Well, let's get started. What is colostrum? So colostrum is nutrient-rich fluid that is produced by all female mammals in the first days after birth. It is the first milk that you produce in your mammal glands, and the consistency of that milk changes in the first couple of days, usually significantly. Colostrum is absolutely crucial in the development of a newborn. It provides especially immune support early on. I'm talking hours after birth, right? And has natural growth factors that might aid in muscle repair, cartilage repair, etc., right? The nutrients and the bioactive compounds that can be found in colostrum are quite impressive. The nutraceutical industry mostly uses bovine colostrum in their products, which is cattle colostrum, right? Like from cows. So natural bovine colostrum, of course, it's a liquid. Nutraceutical products are usually in powder form, so there is also a processing step, right? But I want to start it from the top. How does the cattle industry uses bovine colostrum? As you can imagine, newborn calves need colostrum to strengthen their immune system. And that is especially true within the first couple of hours of birth. They need about 5% of their body weight of colostrum. And it is important that they get this in the first 12 to 24 hours, because that is the only time their gut can absorb the antibodies that are provided with colostrum. And it is important for them to get them, otherwise they cannot build up a defense system to all kinds of pathogens and diseases. The most natural way for calves to get colostrum is, of course, to suckle at the dam of the mother, but often that's not very sufficient. Like some studies shown that only 25% of calves usually consume adequate colostrum within the first hours of birth. So this is why most cattle and milk producers store extra colostrum. Typically, they freeze it. Colostrum can also have different qualities, and they're often measured in the amount of IgG, which is an antibody. But again, that can change within the first couple of days, and then eventually the cow just produces normal milk. So generally, mother cows only produce colostrum in the first couple of days after giving birth. So there are differences in the content of bioactive compounds in colostrum between the cow breeds, also between the way cows are raised, of course, and because of the age of the cow. So all those are factors that play into the bioactive compound content of colostrum. Dairy cattle, and especially the breed Holsteiner, typically produce more colostrum than needed for the calf, and they're often the main source for the colostrum that you can buy as a supplement. Let's talk about how actually your bovine colostrum is sourced and how it is also processed, right? As I said, farmers usually freeze colostrum. So at the moment, the biggest way to process is that farmers ship frozen colostrum to central processing facilities. The United States, Canada, India are the main sources for colostrum. These countries also provide year-round calving. Because remember, you have to have a calving cow to produce colostrum in the first place, right? So in those processing facilities where all those frozen colostrum is shipped to, colostrum is thawed and pasteurized. And that is a standard procedure that prevents foodborne illnesses to spread. Pasteurization is extremely important. We made another video about that. Typically, a low temperature, long time treatment of pasteurization is preferred because it preserves more bioactive compounds. So after pasteurization, colostrum is typically repeatedly sprayed on a hot surface until the water has completely evaporated. And that's where like a lot of the new industry comes in with better pasteurization processes and better drying processes, right? Or freeze drying, for example, or electrostatic drying. So you get your frozen colostrum, it's thawed, it's pasteurized, it's dried, either those spray drying or freeze drying or electrostatic drying, right? Colostrum typically comes from tens, hundreds of cows, right? Colostrum contains a lot of bioactive compounds and that are thought to help with various conditions. Most of those compounds can be found in normal cow milk too, but in much lower concentrations. Currently, there are worldwide more than 100 clinical trials underway to investigate the various aspects of health applications of bovine colostrum in human health. So, although we don't have a clear picture yet what it really exactly does, I want to go through some of those things that we actually know. And the first one is, of course, infant health. So, in vitro studies have shown that if you fortify human breast milk with bovine colostrum, that you increase antibacterial activity, it enhances the adhesion of some early gut colonizers to start your microbiome in your gut. Larger clinical studies are still underway. They give a little bit more of a mixed picture, which they typically do, right? But the recommendations at the moment are if the mother milk is insufficient in nutrients or in other bioactive compounds, the supplementation with colostrum is recommended. And we still don't know exactly what would be optimal for administration or which form of timing would be optimal, etc. That is still questions that research has not answered yet. So colostrum is used quite a lot in performance sport as nutritional and health supplement. There's a lot of research done on that part. Regularly, daily consumption of bovine colostrum, for example, is supposed to influence body composition, physical performance, immune function, illness, etc. Right? But remember, these are athletes, right? These are people that exercise every day, which means they put their bodies under a lot of physical stress. And for them, consistent colostrum supplementation, seems to have a beneficial impact, especially on immune function and generally recurrent illness risk for athletes. Also, I just want to mention this quick, colostrum is also used in skincare because it has inflammation-reducing properties. We think that is due to especially the lactoferrin that we find in colostrum, which is inflammation-reducing agent, right? In this matter, I want to talk about the gut as well, because a lot of the things that we know that bovine colostrum supplementation can do has to do with gut injuries or gut diseases. So I want to break this down to three, right? There's like the viral and bacterially induced diarrhea. So the symptoms of those diarrheas can be reduced and it can lead to faster gut repair if you use bovine colostrum. And that is also true for drug-induced gut injuries. And I'm talking mostly about the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like the Tylenol, right? They can cause, by overuse, a lot of gut problems. So randomized trials in humans have shown that colostrum use can protect from NAID-related gut damage, right? And then that is also true for inflammatory bowel disease, and all of those things we think is because it has like an anti-inflammatory aspect. So this is kind of the body of knowledge that we actually already know. So that's already a lot. So there's unfortunately a lot of things that we don't know about bovine colostrum, a lot more than we do know. One thing that I've heard on social media and that is not true is that it contains probiotic bacteria. It does not contain any bacteria, right? And it might be a prebiotic, but we don't know that. We don't know how its overall impact on your overall gut health might be, whether or not it can improve your sleep quality, it can improve your mood and focus, it might, some people say it ignites metabolism, whatever that means, right? That might be true for some people, but that's not founded in science. We do know that if you have a disease or if you have an inflammation in your gut, or even if you have permeability issues in your gut, it might be helpful. And we know that especially in exercising adults, it can reduce the effects of the oxidative stress on your gut. It seems to help with recovery time. But the big question becomes, what does that mean for you? Should you spend hundreds of dollars on bovine colostrum every month? Ultimately, of course, it's up to you. But I want to recap a few things. Sourcing bovine colostrum can be done humane, but you need to trust your colostrum producer. Secondly, colostrum, after all, is still a processed product, right? There are patent and softer processing methods, but it is not a whole food. And then third, colostrum has a ton of bioactive compounds, and science is clear on immune enhancement and disease-induced or drug-induced gut protection. Those are the two things that we know. It seems to be a great supplement for people who frequently exercise and do put their bodies under constant high stress levels, right? But for everyday people, if you're not having some of the gut diseases and the inflammations mentioned, and if you're not a frequent exerciser, and if you eat healthy, right? Like if you treat your body right, you know, a balanced diet approach with fruits and vegetables and meats and fish and fats and carbohydrates and whole foods, you know, all the things that we promote in our book. Here, I mention it, the book is coming out soon. I know I'm promising this for months now. But if you do all that and you're a healthy individual, you might not need colostrum. You might be able to save that money. You need to make the decision for yourself whether or not the $100, $200 investment every month is worth it. These are the facts. And especially with bovine colostrum, this might change in the next 2 years. We might know a lot more about bovine colostrum, and we might make another video. But this is it for today. I hope this helps. Thanks to all my subscribers. You are truly the best, and I couldn't do this without you. And I see you soon. I'm out.